Hey guys, this is Mike talking here, and I got a deck profile for you for Trickstars in 2021. Yeah, this is viable. So we're going to begin with our primary starter, Candina, obviously at 3. Normal summon, search any Trickstar card, not a monster, a card. So that includes Reincarnation, the field spell, one of the field spells, whichever one you're playing. We'll get to that in a little bit. On top of that, 3 licorice, I really don't know, but this can target another Trickstar of a different name on field. Special itself, return that Trickstar, so generally you want to return the Candina so you get another search next turn. Additionally, Candina burns 200 per back row your opponent uses. Licorice burns 200 for every card added to their hand. That includes from the grave, that includes from the field. So if it's added to hand, it burns 200. Additionally, next, Korribane. This is what I use to swing over the big boys. I don't have anything in here that by itself could swing over big stuff. Korribane doubles the attack of an attacking Trickstar, or rather a Trickstar in battle during the damage step. So keep that in mind for the rulings. 1 Lilybell. This one can attack directly, and if you search it, it can special summon for free. If it does damage, you get to return a Trickstar monster from grave to hand. So you only want to play 1 because you don't want to too hard draw it. I was playing it at 2 at one point, and that just didn't seem to work very well. So next up, we've got Fuck Yous. 3 D-Shifter. This card is so good, especially right now, that if you can run it, you should. There's no reason to run it unless it actually hurts you. Next up, we've got 3 Ghost Spell. I'll splice this a bit. So Ghost Spell, obviously, it's a one-time Necro Valley, more or less. Keep stuff in the grave. Up next, we've got the Field Spell lineup. So, gotta have 1 Terraforming, especially considering Light Stage itself is at 1. So, having 2 of them basically is essential. Light Stage upon activation searches a Trickstar monster. Like I said before, Candina searches any Trickstar card. Light Stage is a monster specifically. So keep that in mind.
I hear that's a pretty good field spell.
Yeah, it does a lot of other good stuff too. Speaking of good field spells, we got 3 Mystic Mine.
Mystic Mine Shrine, let's go.
So the idea here is Licorice primarily. The burn damage is not an activated effect. So Mystic Mine does not stop it. It is continuous. So with Mystic Mine active and a Licorice on field, it'll still burn for every card added to your opponent's hand. Which, I didn't say this earlier, but that includes the draw phase. For final field spell, we've got Necro Valley. Ghost Spell on its own is really good, so why not have a continuous Ghost Spell? Now, up next in the main deck, it's probably the most controversial choice from what I've been hearing from other people, but 3 Desires. I'm not paying for Prosperity, that's not happening. And Extravagance, there's a reason I'm not running Extravagance. We'll get to that really soon. In fact, technically, right now. Super Poly. There are too many decks, at least currently, in which Super Poly destroys. We'll get to the targets in a little bit. I'm not going to spoil that.
I heard there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there might be. Next up, we got one called by. When I was originally building this deck, I was trying to find like 1 card. I had 39. I needed something else, so I decided, how about a Saki card? A Saki 1-of. Speaking of Saki 1-ofs, D-Fissure. Any monster sent to grave is instead banished. So This, when it is active, stops stuff like silent mining because it has to send to grave. If they're trying to send a monster anyway. I'll just show in macro right now since I'm getting to the traps anyway. This banishes everything sent to grave. Not just monsters, but everything. So if this is active, your opponent cannot activate silent mining at all. There's a bunch of other stuff that it stops, but that's just the one thing that came to mind right away.
Because of my Ignistus.
Yeah.
That's why.
Alright, so an interruption, solemn strike. This has been a questionable decision to have in the deck for a little bit, but it has worked wonders, especially recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then the in-archetype interruption, reincarnation. Your opponent adds something to hand, they search something, then you say on resolution, then you flip it. And they don't get that thing unless, of course, they hard draw it, another copy of it.
Really good against the meta right now.
Yeah.
Medium
And additionally, you banish, you banish reincarnation itself from grave. It can revive a Trickstar monster from grave. So I think there's some ruling that says you can't do that in the battle phase. I have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
When I play it online, it doesn't let me do that. So that's weird. So if your opponent tries to end a battle and you're trying to do that, just say end of main phase and then do it.
Right.
Here's the spice right here. Lose 1 turn. Any monster that is special summoned, effect monster anyway, it is negated for the turn that it is summoned, and if it is summoned in attack position, it switches to defense, of course, unless it's a link monster. But the link monster is still negated for that turn. It does. This card, it just so happens I don't draw it that often, but when I do draw it, like turn 1, it does work wonders.
Yeah.
And now for one last card, Metaverse. So you saw I was playing 5 total field spells. Why not an extra terraforming that I can activate from deck?
Yeah, I wonder what we're grabbing with that. Mystic Mine or Necro Valley?
If I could do Light Stage 2 if I really need to, and I would get the search right there too.
Right.
So,
Alright, so
next up, I'm going to do the side deck, and there is a method to that madness right there.
Yep.
So, let's get to the side deck.
Let's see the spice.
So we got 3 DD Crow. I have banished a Spinny on effect. That's fun. Lots of other things you can do, like a Ben 10, possibly a Drytron Gamma target. Things like that. Engage. I haven't played Striker once.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. So that's lucky, but Engage is a good target for that.
Speaking of Striker.
3 Typhoon. People are playing Anti-Spell and Imperial Order a lot right now, so this is a trap, back row removal, and it's a hand trap. You can activate it from hand. If your opponent controls at least 2 back row and you don't control any, you can activate this from hand and then pop a face-up back row. 3 Lancia. This is probably the least used card in my side deck right now, but it is still very good against the right decks. Especially things like Virtual World.
Yeah.
People are bringing that back, so that's good. Now we got a few one-ofs, Feather Duster, and Pank, and for the Mystic Mine grind game, Cauldron. This is basically adding to the whole burn mechanic of the deck.
Yeah.
So I was maining this at one point, but now I'm going to be siding it. And now, let's get to my favorite part, Winter Cherries. Why? We'll get to that next. So I'm going to take these and do this with them. So starting with the Super Poly targets, we've got Starving Venom, which is 2 Dark Monsters, All Marduk, 3 Link Monsters.
And you used that recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I did actually. It doesn't come up that often, but when it does, it is devastating to your opponent.
Nice to have.
Eldritch Fusion.
Yep.
You can make that off of Golden Boy plus one of the traps, or if your opponent has to have 2 Golden Boy, there you go.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you can. So my favorite recently has been Earth Golem.
Oh.
Destroys Salad, destroys Ignister. You need 1 Cyburst plus a Link. Any Link.
Yeah, he's used that one on me a couple times.
Yeah, I played against a Salad player recently. I went 3-1 in that day.
Mm-hmm.
Salad, I was able to make this guy all 3 games.
Oh, God.
So that was a lot of fun.
Man.
And then, of course, the obvious Mud Dragon.
Yep, Mud Dragon.
So that's necessary. 2 monsters of the same attribute but different types. Up next, we got the Cherries targets. We'll start with Dark Infant for Ignisters. For Prank Kids, we got Meow Meow. For Strikers, we got Kagari. And for Salad, we have Sunlight Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we've got a couple targets that apply to both Super Poly and Cherries, including Construct. Trickstars are all light monsters, so if you need a light monster, you can make a Construct off of your opponent's Construct plus one of your Trickstars.
Yeah, think about that.
Or you can just fuse away Construct plus your opponent's Beast. That's fun. That's a Shadal plus a light. Also, Prank Kid's Weather Washer. More primarily for Super Poly, but it can work as a Cherries target.
Yep.
Like if you're going through the grind game, you already hit Meow Meow. Then if you have another Cherry, you may as well hit Weather Washer.
It's so evil.
I love it. And then next up, for the end of it, we have Maximus targets. So if your opponent uses Maximus, we've got Omega, which can return itself plus any card in your grave to deck. So basically it's just a free spin back from your grave.
Get you back a reincarnation.
Yeah, something like that. And that's not the only thing I got this in here for, so we'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Nova Mechaba package, which Mechaba can also be used as a Cherries target, potentially.
So can Nova.
Yeah, so can Nova. And potentially Mechaba as a Super Poly target. I've never actually done that, but it can be done.
Right.
And then we got Chimera Flesia.
Mm.
First of all, if this is sent to grave, you could search out Super Poly or any fusion spell on your next standby phase. Additionally, it's a Super Poly target against Dragoon. Because if they make Dragoon with Verte Anaconda,
oh, wow, yeah.
Verte plus Dragoon makes Chimera Flesia.
I did not even know that. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So that doubles as that. And then finally, the Omega thing. 1 second. Korribane is a level 5.
Mm.
If you don't control any monsters or just Trickstar monsters, you could special summon it for free. And not only that, Ghost Bell is a level 3 tuner. And so is Cherries for that matter. You can make Omega off of these 2 and do it all in one turn, potentially. It's not something that comes up often, but it's an option. It's an option. So that's about all I got.
So why no Drolls and Ashes and all that bullshit?
Well, first of all, Ash, I hate. I hate
too.
using. I would hate using it, and I hate playing against it. It is the most broken card in the game, if you ask me. So, no. Not to mention they're $20 each right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But also Droll. I just don't have any.
He doesn't need it.
I went 3-1 with not this exact build, but it was pretty damn close. But I just don't have any. I didn't want to spend $10 a copy on that.
This man plays Trickstars and doesn't need Drolls.
But I still intend to pick those up in the near future because they will help.
Yep.
But yeah, that's about all I got. Please subscribe to the Mystic Mind Shrine. Stun decks, control decks, asshole decks. We're just going to be that kind of person, those kinds of people. Shout out to the guys at Eternal, Gatekeepers, Collectible Investments. That's all we got tonight. Peace.